Hey everyone, Michelle back with another spooky Reddit story. We are on episode 44, I believe. So this one is called I Volunteered After Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, and there was something there that still scares me to this day. This story was posted by a Reddit user 5 years ago to give some reference. Okay, here it goes. I have a medical background and a certification I rarely use, though I keep going back and paying to renew it. Anyhow, I volunteered almost immediately thinking I would help those who have lived through Katrina. That was not the case. There were a few of us that were assigned once the water started to recede to find houses that had the bodies of those who had passed during the flood in them. If you've ever had to do any body recovery when it has been lying around in the heat and the water for days, sometimes weeks at a time, you know that it has a horrible smell. It does sort of smell like any other dead carcass, but worse. I can't explain it. Maybe somehow sweeter smelling. Anyway, the key to not getting sick when you smell them is Vicks under and around the bottom of your nose. It doesn't keep all of the smell out, but certainly enough until you can at least tolerate the smell without getting sick. And guys, this is just me. I want to say this is a very hard one to read, but it is very interesting, and it is something somebody experienced while they were trying to do something good for their community. And I can't imagine what the workers go through in a scenario like this. So, you know, my heart really goes out to someone who had to experience this, you know, and the community that had to have people come and experience this because of such a natural disaster, just tearing them apart. It's horrible. But I still think the story should be read, so I am going to share it. We go to each house and go inside in wading boots and look for those remains. Many of them washed out to sea, but some were still in the houses that they had lived in prior to the hurricane. If we found somebody, we had to spray paint a big X on the outside of the house. The other guy and I had been doing it for a while, and we got assigned to each other almost every day. We got along okay, and he didn't get sick at the ones that hadn't been gotten to. We came up to this old shack, and I say shack because it was pretty rundown in what had been a very bad neighborhood. Right away, I got chills down my spine. I knew there was something really wrong. Not like a find somebody's remains kind of wrong, but chilling kind of wrong. New Orleans has certain areas that just give off these vibes, and my understanding is there's a lot of voodoo practiced in certain areas. Anyway, against everything my body was screaming at me, we went in the house. The first thing I could smell was that there was somebody there. The second was something almost earthy and mold. I looked at my partner. I will call him Jay. He was white as a sheet. I could tell he was getting that same feeling I had been getting. It was obvious from the weird bones hanging from the ceiling. I would have bet money they were cats. Something odd had been going down in the house, as well as strange beads and carvings in the bare wood in the walls. We went into what was a kitchen, and there, chained to a beam, was an old lady, or what was left of her. She had chained herself by her wrists to the beam. Her insides were coming out onto the floor. The creepiest thing was her face still looked as though she were alive and staring at us with a wicked smile, showing only partial teeth. They were nubs. My skin started crawling as the goosebumps spread over my body, and my neck and hair stood up. Suddenly, I heard the most unearthly, cackling noise I have ever heard in my life, and my flight or fight kicked in. Jay and I noped out of there. We quickly spray painted the X and literally ran to the next house. Now, I don't know if that old lady had practiced voodoo or whatever, but that scared the ever-living shit out of me. It still gives me nightmares to this day. The people I feel sorry for are the ones who had to take that crazy looking lady down out of there. Jay and I discussed it that night. We went back to the hotels north of there. He had heard the cackling too, but we both said it had to be the wind or something. All right, so kind of a hard one to hear. Sorry for that. The realism behind this one is just, going with a disaster like that is pretty awful. But do I think they could have experienced something paranormal in this situation? Yeah. I mean, perhaps just, finding remains and finding the remains for whatever reason in such a strange position, that could have been enough to just be unnerving all on its own and create kind of like a, like they just were a little bit nervous kind of a state of mind for them. But I don't think they both would have heard cackling because they were nervous. Do we really think cackling could have come from the wind? Because that to me doesn't really sound probable. Sounds more like that they would like to believe that so that, it puts some peace to the story for them, because it's better than believing some old lady hanging from a rafter cackled at you, right? And I guess we have to bring up, why did her face not deteriorate, but the rest of her body did? Maybe it was submerged at one point. I do not know those details, but not sure. I'm not sure why everything else was deteriorating, but not her face. So if you have any thoughts, please drop them below. Do you think voodoo was involved in this? Do you think she did some sort of ritual of some sort? Because there were the carvings and the walls that were strange, they said, and they did find bones hanging. But I know not all voodoo is a negative thing. So what do we think was actually going on here in this one? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Please hit that repost button so others have a chance to hear this story. Thanks, guys.